This is assignment 3 about Linux web servers. So to start, this is my name server 1 from the previous assignment. This is just the zone file showing that I got site 1 to 6 in here, all on the same IP address. And this is for my NGINX site, all 3 of them right here. Next, we're going to go to my Apache server here. And this is the firewall rules. This is for my external NIC, my 160, and this is for my private NIC, my 192. This is a netstack command that shows Apache's process and ports. And then here's the SELinux enforcing. So we're going to start with site 1, which rewrites based on what browser you're on, and also with a 404 HTML page. So here is my Chrome. We got the colors of the Google Chrome icon. We found Site 1 Chrome Edition. A little funny picture. So now this is the Firefox, as you can tell. We got here colors of its icon, or at least the newer one. Firefox Edition. Another meme. Here's the Internet Explorer's version. I have the site set to use it right now. And then once I uncheck that, then it will be back to the Edge version. So we got here, found the Internet Explorer version. Oh, this is pretty funny. Classic Internet Explorer. And now that I've removed from the default Internet Explorer browser, here it is, the Edge version. Yeah, this kind of sums up that I never really use Edge at all. And see, like, this is the 404 page. Just some random words in there. Alright, now it's time for Site 2, which has protected and regular files. So here we got the index. Ignore this. This was part of these HTML files, but couldn't really get rid of them. So just ignore them. So here it goes the regular files first. Some HTML pages. Got a regular file, but not really regular. So we can go back. Now if we go to protected files, it's locked until you have a valid logon. So say just random, whatever, just won't let you in. But if you have a valid user with password and IP address, it will work. So here user 1 got in, and then I will change the config file to a different IP address to test that you need the right IP address to get in. So here, oh, suspicious. So right now I am in the htaccess for the site 2. Just going to edit the IP address, say .12. So this should not let me log in when I go back to site 2. Alright, so we're here. So this time it's forbidden. Don't have permission to access this resource because we don't have the right IP address. And before I get too far on the way, this is the config file for site 1. I realized I didn't show it before with all the rewrite rules. Here's the config for site 2. There's not as much because it goes more with the htaccess on the protected files, which you had previously seen when I switched the IP address. So now it's time for site 3, which allows users to serve web content using their own home directory. So here we have test user 1. This is their site. And I also have one for test user 2. And it takes from the public HTML folder here. Here is the config file for site 3. So this is the user directory, this public HTML, and under enable test user 1, test user 2, which I showed you. And here's everything else within here. For SELinux, I have the set FACL, however you pronounce that. And this is for Apache to read and execute. This is for test user 1, same for test user 2. And I did the get FACL. And here it is right here, Apache, the read and execute. So now going to site 4, which is an information site for administrators. So we have server status and server info. So we can go visit and test it out right now. Now we're on site 4, which is an information site for web administrators. So I'm going to show you two things, which is server status and server info, and both should be locked only to be accessed by admins. So here's server status. So see, if I tried using user 1 from earlier, can't get in, but if I just used admin user, I can get into the server status. So this is everything here, and here's the server info. So same thing, can't get in, but with admin user, I can get in and see all the server information here. And here is the site for config file here, which is restricting to the admin only and not letting like the user 1 or user 2 in for that. So we can go to site 5 now, which is the self-signed certificate. So this is going to redirect us to HTTPS. So we're going to advance, we're going to keep going. So this is my site 5. Up here, here's my certificate details. So my common name is site5.kgibson.com. My organization, this is when it was issued. Here's the certificate itself and the public key. Here we got the details for everything. Here is Site 5's config file. And this is here everything with the certificate. This handles the level of encryption that's allowed on here. So it allows version 1.2 and version 1.3, which are the higher levels of encryption. All right, so now we're going to see activity on port 443 when we go to site 5 because it should redirect traffic to HTTPS. Let's go to site 5. So right now we were brought from HTTP to HTTPS. We'll just keep going. Now we're on here. Let's go check the TCP dump. So we have here, look at all this activity going on. So that is what it looks like because we were able to get to port 443 because it redirected it from just the regular port 80. All right, time for site 6, which is the PHP. This is just what the config file looks like. Nothing really too big. This is what the PHP looks like. This is phpinfo.php. Now time for the nginx site. So here is nginx site 1. This is the config file. Not too much going along in here. Just a simple static site. Here is right here. Nginx site 1. This one didn't have too much. So now we're going to go on to site 2. So now here is site 2. This is the name. This will restrict the access to the internal subnet. So it denies all except for this. And we got the custom logs, and then we have the 404 HTML. So here we got site 2. And we'll get the 404 page. If you want to test the IP restriction to the internal subnet, you just have to do that. So I'll change the internal subnet. We will go to site 2 again. And it's now forbidden because we are not on the same subnet that it had in the config file. Now finally for site 3, here's the config file here. It's again with the certificates. So here's the certificate and the key for my server. For my server name,ngsite3.kgibson.com. So we use the modern protocols SSL, protocols TSL version 1.2 and 1.3. And then here's the ciphers. And then we have for the user only, this is for the authentication access here. This is the error and access logs. So here's the TCP dump, just showing that the traffic is going to be on port 443, which is the HTTPS. So here being redirected to HTTPS. We'll continue on here. Here it prompts us to authenticate. I had used the same name here as I did before, but obviously it's a different site. So here we got the server test page here for the Nginx. And look at certificate details. There we have the common name is the same as my name up here. So now we're on Firefox, test down there. Let's continue on. We can view the certificate, common name, same up here. My certificate has everything layout a bit nicer than it does on Google. And we'll accept the risk to continue. Again, wants me to sign in. So say if I did like this, wouldn't let me in. But again, I'm an admin user here. I can also test with Edge. Continue on to HTTPS, to advance, keep going, log in, and we're over here again. Let me go back on here into the TCP dump. So all this action that's happening on 443, the multiple browsers we used. So it all went through on 443 because we were moved from HTTP to HTTPS. So that is my assignment 3 Linux web server. Thank you very much.